welcome everyone. Welcome to the Business Spotlight interview series. And today we have Ben Naylor with us. He's the owner and MD of Jack Badger Limited, a multi-award winning team who are specialists in joiners and carving. And a lot of history goes behind that, Ben. But I want to hear from you. Tell us more about yourself, your journey, and about the company.
Okay, so yeah, as you say, we're a joinery company that is focused on traditional joinery, traditional English joinery,
Mhm.
and that's been with us from the start. But I suppose where did I begin? Uh, when I was still at school, my dad's a stonemason, so I'd kind of looked at that world and gone, it looks a bit dusty and wet and cold outside, so I was a bit more interested in sort of like being in a workshop, I guess. And I've always wanted to known that I wanted to do something manual. And he introduced me to his friend at the time when I was still at school. I don't know, 14 or so.
Wow.
And I
So
would
you
go,
started quite early.
yeah, and I would go in my school holidays. I would go and help out a little bit, just to kind of get a flavour for it. And he offered me the guy that was working for offered me an apprenticeship straight as I left school. So I went straight into an apprenticeship. Um, and I went to Stockport College, doing a handcrafted furniture course, which unfortunately was like one of the last. I was one of the last years that got to do that course, and then it went into more of a generic site joinery kind of course, which is a bit of a shame, really. There was a lull in these courses; they seem to disappear a little bit. However, there's loads of colleges now which have got really good offerings, so
Very
it's
good.
reassuring
It's
to
coming
know that
back.
that's coming
Yeah.
back. Yeah. So yeah, I did an apprenticeship with those guys, and it's got to a point where I'd kind of got a hankering to do some really old school type of joinery, and so I struck out on my own at about 2021, and didn't go straight into setting up a company because I didn't really know. I knew I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what. And then me and I was on my own for a year or so, and then an ex-colleague of mine, Big Rob. We've got a little Rob and a Big Rob.
Okay.
Big Rob, he sort of rang up and said, "Have you got a bench that I could borrow?" And so I at this point I'd set up with my dad. I'd set up the barn next to my family home as a workshop. Or
Yeah.
it was pretty rudimentary to start with, but yeah, we started building that, and then between me and Rob, we just ended up working together. Where we found that in such a small space, it was far more efficient to work collaboratively. And then off the back of that, there's a lot of benefits working in teams, which has followed us all the way through to now as a bigger team. But
So, so
it
you
was
still have the big rock and the little.
we do, yeah, yeah, we do,
Lovely.
yeah. Yeah,
Very
he's been
good.
on a bit of a sabbatical, Big Rob. He's been away interrailing with his daughter, which is lovely. But yeah, he's kind of landed in a different role now. But I can explain about that in a bit. But um, yeah, and then after about 4 or 5 years, I went away traveling for a year because I'd just got this thing in my head where I wanted to go and see what was out there. And it's incredibly fortunate position to be able to do that. I'm totally aware
Exactly.
of that.
Yeah.
Really, really lucky. Um, and then when I came back, it just was one of those, right, I've kind of cleared my head and I'm ready to settle into something here. Um, and my dad's friend, who was a sort of like a finance director for a few big companies in Manchester, he'd offered my dad. He's like, "Come on, let me help you set a company up." And my dad's he's great at stonemasonry, but he's never been interested in having anything other than a one man band. So he said, "Well, why don't you see if you can help Ben?" So then he helped us just start to sort of explore the idea really, and get the company set up. And that was the sort of start of it really. And then there's been many ups and many downs
So
since.
did that 1 year travel helped you, and was it the foundation of Jack Badger?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was. It helped focus my. It helped me not to be distracted by the idea of there being better things out there. You know,
And
it gave me the kind of um, the ability to, when I came home, go look round. I mean, we live in a beautiful place. We're in the Peak District, so we are fortunate. But I looked around and I was like, do you know, actually, it's really nice. I've got a lot of people I know and I've known for a long time, which gives you quite a good support network. It's a beautiful place. It's got an attraction. So when we started to grow our team, we were in a place to be able to attract people to our area. So it's been nice. But yeah, the traveling definitely helped me settle my head
do
down.
you still do it? Do you still go out business, or has it become difficult now running a business?
Uh, I think life changes, doesn't it? So I still get to go away. This year's been a bit different. I've been knuckling down a bit more this year, but um, yeah, still try and get away, but not for as extended a periods as perhaps I have in the past. You know,
Yeah.
I've done a couple of seasons snowboarding as well, which has helped all tie that in with with the year away traveling. So
So that brings me to my next question, Ben. Uh, of course, you've been what should we say more than 15 years now, close to 21 years now. You've been into
yeah,
this trade. So how do you manage that work-life balance? Because being a business owner, running a business, it's a it's look easy from the outside, but there's a lot happening inside.
yes, I think. I feel like you go through phases. Bearing in mind, I've learned all this the hard way by just getting involved and trying to figure it out. But it feels like you start off, you've got loads of energy and enthusiasm when you first start, and you go at an unsustainable pace. Um, and then it's a case of balancing it between you need to keep that pressure on, but not too much that you end up just burning out.
Exactly.
I've been in a few positions where I've felt like I've been pretty close to giving up and burning out. I mean, that happens. Anybody gets. I don't think anybody builds a business without having moments of going,
Yeah.
"What am I doing? Why this is not fun." There's many of those. In fact, I
But
think
how do you keep that balance now? How do you keep yourself in that check where it's more sustainable?
I suppose if you build your team right, then you increase your chances of being able to take a bit more time for yourself. The actual growth of the team is what's really sort of helped narrow me into sticking to certain hours at work. I mean, it doesn't work all the time. Obviously, you've got to do things outside of work, and that's part of the role, part of the job. And I think having understandable people in your life it's important that they understand why you're doing it. Otherwise, everybody just gets upset, and you're not doing it to upset anybody. You're doing it because that's what needs to be done. Um,
Exactly.
so it's yeah, it's not all. You can't just in my position as well. I really love my job, and I love what we do, and it's really important to keep us on the same. Keep our offering the same. So
Yeah.
I don't want to get fully hands off. I know that's an option.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to, but I think just having that balance and building a really good team, everybody in the team, not just lead management, but everybody there wants to be there, and they all super important.
Yeah.
And I think having that team helps you to operate as a bit more of a normal person rather than just being at work all the time.
Yeah, exactly. You know what you just said is actually uh sticks with this is what I see, and you just hit the nail on the head that having that right team gives you that balance and you're able to create that. So just want you to reflect on what was that, if I know it cannot be one thing, but what was that one most important thing which helped you or which contributed to you to getting the right people right now, the team, which I can clearly see you have a great team in place. But what was that one thing which got you to that position where you have a great team?
Um, I don't know if there's one specific thing. Lots of things that you either realize or you learn or you find out or you get little bits of information told. And I think one thing that we did a course with NatWest. It was called the NatWest Entrepreneur Accelerator Growth Program, which is a mouthful. It's not catchy, but that was a 6 month offering, and you would go along every other Wednesday, and it was to help people who've started a business in something that they are good at and they love, but don't necessarily have any business training. And it's a way of them teaching you all of the nuts and bolts of business, or giving you exposure to it. And one thing they talked about when it came to employing and hiring and whatnot, one thing they said was, and it's common sense, but they said you should always look to employ somebody who's better than you at the role that you're trying to fill, because it is a temptation, I think, for some people who maybe feel they can feel a little bit insecure about something, or they feel like they need to be the person that knows everything, and then you'll employ someone who's maybe either like a bit not as maybe not as accomplished as you are, but really that's just madness. You want to get someone in who brings so much to the table, because you should learn from them and you should respect them. And I think that if you do that, that really helps with
Very good.
your team, and the mindset helps with employing the right person rather than it being fudged in your head. um
Yeah.
I think the other thing as well is always tried to I've always tried to build an environment and a culture that I want to be in, if you know what I mean, and that I would, if I had to go and work somewhere, where would I like to work? And that's kind of what I've tried to
It
keep.
it's like treat people the way you want to be
Exactly.
treated. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and foster that environment where you think, well, yeah, it is. It's like, well, what do I want? I know what I kind of want, and it seems that what we've built is other people are pretty up for it. So it's looking after
No,
each other as
definitely. I
well.
mean, great points you've just added. And I see that. So hire smarter people,
I
people
think,
who
yeah,
are better than you, and create a culture where you want to work
yeah,
in, and it all comes down to the values you have and the culture you create.
exactly. I mean, I think that it's not one or the other either. It's not just finding the best person. It's
Yeah.
finding the best person that fits, because you might have someone who's still learning. Like you might
Yeah.
be taking a chance on someone who you can see that they've got the right attitude, they're enthusiastic, there's someone who fits in with the team. That's probably more important than finding someone who's utterly
Better
amazing
skilled.
but
Yeah.
upsets everybody, because no one wants that. So it's using a lot of. It always feels a bit bad saying use your gut, because it feels a little bit unscientific, that, but I do think there's a lot to that. I do think that when if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Love that. So yes, team has been very important for the business, and it clearly we can feel and we can hear the passion behind that you have built in a great team who works together with you. So having that team in your play with you, what is the vision for Jack Badger? Where do you see yourself and the company 5 years down the line?
That's a tricky one as well, because I do believe vision is huge. I mean, that was taught to me at the NatWest thing. There was a whole section on vision, and
Yeah,
we got to hear from some fairly heavy hitting business people in massive companies in America, and they all start with vision. They all start with vision.
yeah, yeah.
Um, that said, there's also a slight element of uh, things kind of. It's never a straight line, is it? You never get from A to B. You go via C, F, and it's all
Yeah,
around the houses.
yeah,
So,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
that sort of does sometimes shape a little bit where you're going. But um, I would really like to, and this also this is kind of like me. What I'm about to say is underpinned by I don't want fast growth. I'm not interested in speed. I'm interested in safety and
Sustainable.
stability and
Yeah,
sustainability. Yeah. So it'd be really nice to have a little to have sort of like a design team, more of an interior design team that perhaps um we can offer some slightly more whole house type packages, introduce some different mediums, so not just timber. We've already partnered pretty much quite closely with stone, through my dad pretty much, but um yeah, having some ceramics and some fabrics in there and that kind of stuff, that'd be really lovely to get to eventually, if we can sort of shape the business. But for now, what we're focusing on is getting all of our processes and systems in place so that everything's safe. So making sure it's all the boring stuff, like what we do. You go on our website, there's all the pretty carving and the nice joinery. That's the bit
they
that's
are. Yeah,
important.
exactly. Yeah,
But then if you apply the same mindset to the business as you do to that, which is don't be scared of a bit of hard work. If you're going to do something, do it properly. You don't make something that looks good, but it's put together badly. You've got to make sure all the joints and everything are really nicely fitted so that the outside pretty bit that's carved can survive. So it's the same for that. I think that's what we're really focusing on now. So the vision would be, I suppose, for in the next few years to get all of our internal layers really nice and solid. Just get everything. We're in a good place now, but there's always room for improvement. I think there's a there's a tendency for people to try and find the things that they're doing well and celebrate them, which is important, but it's not the thing that's not what's going to get you further. You need to kind of see them and go, great, that's worked, but then you need to seek out the things that aren't going well or the
yeah.
problems, and that's what you need to put your time into, which is it's slightly
Because
painful
it's a
doing that,
learning
but
curve.
it's
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, there's one thing with what you've just said, and I was reflecting on in my experience, whatever I've worked with businesses. You you pick any company, you pick any business, any country, any economy, yeah, and you will
yeah,
always see there are peaks and troughs and peaks and troughs. Yeah, it's never a
yeah,
straight line. What you just said, yeah.
yeah,
Till the time those peak and troughs are moving as growth moving upwards, it's good because it will
yeah,
always happen.
yeah. Two
So
steps forward,
with
one
every
step
peak and
back.
trough,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
But you moving forward, that's a growth, that's success.
yeah. Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
So
that's the question, isn't it? What does success look like? Well,
exactly,
it's hard to paint that picture because you can see success in all sorts of things.
yeah. But so from your perspective, is it uh, going beyond the borders? Is it some vertical or backward integration where you get more product lines? Is it so? Is it some sort of partnership? Is it some sort of moving out of the business? Where do you see?
What does success look like to me? Um, I think it's not so much about it's not being able to leave the business would be quite a personal goal. If you were going to use that, that isn't my goal, and that isn't necessarily where I would pin success. But I think having the industry recognize you as really knowing what you're doing, being the person or the company that you go to for outstanding work that's going to last for a long, long time, that they can trust in you, that you've built a really good team of external companies as well. So we work a lot with interior designers and architects, and I think that I don't look at this project by project particularly. I look at it as, okay, we're working with this person now, and the thing that's important to me is making sure that you end up with a really good relationship with that company
Is
through
that
doing good
important for
work
the
for them.
success?
I think that's successful if you've got integrity and you stick to your guns and you don't start to, you don't let your quality slide, and you don't start to go, oh, it'll be all right, like that's poisonous, that, I think. So that's why I think you do need to look at a job you've just done, and you can find something on every job you've just done and go, "Ah, we should have done that differently, or we should have done that differently," and then bringing that through into the next job. It's that continuous growth. So I think it's probably a slightly boring answer, that success, but I think
But yeah,
that's what's
but I
important for
mean,
me.
I think I can go back to how strong you are with your values, because again, integrity is a very strong value. And for
Yeah,
me, vision is never achievable. So a
yeah,
vision is very open, which a company is always striving to. It's just what you said, like a perfection, but you still go back to the job and you think, oh, we could have done better.
yeah,
So for me, vision is never achievable. It
yeah,
just keeps pushing forward the business. It just keeps pushing the team to achieve it,
yeah,
but you can never achieve it if you look at
yeah.
it long term.
They had it's probably a thing that is in business, I don't know, but at NatWest they would always say build, measure, learn. So it kind of
Yeah,
keeps going round like that,
yeah,
it feels
yeah,
like an
yeah,
endless treadmill, but
yeah,
that's kind of what it is,
exactly.
isn't it?
But that's how the business is. No, very good. No, so
Yeah.
from where you are, Ben, and where you want to be, which is the vision, the quality, the perfection, the integrity, yeah, and working with a lot of designers and moving into a different sort of a different product line as well. Um, what do you see as the biggest challenge? The reason why I ask this, when I speak to business owners, most of the time their challenges fall in either of the three, whether it is time, which is
Yeah.
always an issue, or it is about the team. Yeah, so team moving to achieve that, or is the money aspect of the business. Where do you see the
I
challenge?
I think, well, you create value, don't you? So if you do the right thing and people understand it, then the money comes, in the sense that, um yeah, like if you're just doing a really good job, then you realize that getting someone who's not got integrity and is quicker and cheaper, that's not the economically viable choice. So the money I'm not so worried about, as long as you can convey, uh why your stuff costs a bit more, which it does, because we have really good materials. It's very labor intensive. It's like lots of handwork. So
Yeah,
that side of it, I'm not so worried about. The time and the people kind of go hand in hand for me. So if you get the right people, it saves you more. It creates more time for you. So it's a bit chicken and egg, in the sense that at the moment, like, say for example, at the moment we're looking for a project manager who will automatically then by default allow me to have a bit more time to get a bit on with the systems and the processes side, which will speed that up, which means that you can get more efficient quicker.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's, I suppose it maybe starts with the people then. I've
Yeah.
just answered my own question there, haven't I? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's probably it.
And you're absolutely right, because the moment you have the right team, it gives you more time. The
Yeah,
business sort of starts running without you.
yeah,
And as a business owner, you're able to spend more time working on the business rather than in it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. And no, and this is what we see often, but it's good that you're aware of it. So, when you started this journey long time back, yeah, and it's been pretty up and down and a lot of good things. I mean, you are one of the award-winning companies, so a lot of growth you have seen in the past, and still growing.
yeah.
Uh, One piece of advice, or let's say, if you have to start this company again, if you had to do everything from the start, what would you do differently?
I was thinking about this question. Um, it's uh, it's hard to say because um, are you talking about going back knowing what you know now, or are you talking about going back not knowing anything? Because there's two different answers, you see.
Yeah, yeah,
If I
yeah.
suppose if you had to give advice in this position to someone starting a business, it would be you don't worry about not knowing everything. You can't know everything. But what you do need to do is acknowledge you don't know everything and then not be scared of asking questions and looking for help and taking sort of support. Um, very early on, I got a it was actually slightly government funded. There was some government funding that part paid for a mentor, business mentor, and it was for a block of time. And so she was called Bridie, uh, and she was great. She really started me thinking about things differently. Because you got to stop thinking about things from a joinery point of view and start to think about, it's like building a business. It's a bit like building a bit of furniture. You need a plan. You've got to get, you need to get your methods right. You need to look, practice your methods to get it looking right. You've got to, it's an evolving thing. So I think that seeking some advice and some help earlier on is and leaning on people is really important. Not trying to do it all yourself, and yeah, and keeping a really open mind. I think that's the other thing. Don't don't get too rigidly, don't think about things too rigidly. Being willing to pivot. So if you start doing something that doesn't work, try something else.
And has been very good advice you've given. And has this been one of the most important things for your growth as well? Asking for help and
Yeah,
having
it
someone to
has. Yeah.
support you.
Yeah, and then I mean, I just said before we did the NatWest program that we did, and as part of that, you get a coach, and our coach was a lady called Annabelle. She was great, like really helpful. Told us off when we needed telling off, and kept us on track. But then by the end of the course, in the last few weeks, she said, Ben, you've not asked me for anything here. You've not. How can look? I can find you people to talk to about money or investment but you've not. And I was like, well, I don't know what to ask you for because all of that stuff isn't something we're interested in. But then she said, well, I could get you a mentor or something. And I was like, oh, because I'd had Bridie before. I was like, oh, yeah, if you can find someone for that. And so she she then the week later, a chap walked into their offices and said, "Oh, my name's Amos, I'd like I'd see if I could mentor any businesses." And he'd only just arrived in this country, so he's kind of like finding his feet, if you will. Very very experienced business background, but he had his finger bandaged, and she said, "Oh, what have you done to your finger?" And he's like, "Oh, well, my passion is woodworking, like my hobby is woodworking." So she was like,
Interesting.
"Hey, like the stars aligned." And then she introduced me and Amos, and Amos has been with us since well, probably for the last, I don't actually know, maybe like 8 years or 9 years. It's been a while, and we see him every other week. We have a sit down where we leave the workshop and we go and sit in my house actually, um, and we go through and he helps us keep an eye on things and make sure that we're spotting things that are coming or addressing things that need addressing. And I think that's all stems from that as well. Having that person, the opportunity with that person when we did, and then following it through, maintaining that support has been really good, really helpful.
No, that is so good, Ben. And I can, what you just said, just so much resonates with me because being a coach, this is what I get to hear every point of time. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you know what? We believe in congruency, and it's
yeah,
about best of the people you see, best of the sports people, they have a coach. So why
yeah,
not business owners? Yeah. And
uh,
that's where you get to see the outside perspective.
Yeah, I don't know how what your experience is with this, but I feel because I've introduced Amos to a few people as well. Um, and some he's still with, and some aren't. But I always feel like the people that have stopped using him, it's like there's a certain amount of getting used to each other and building that, being
Yeah,
with the same person for a long time. They, like I'm sure you get to know certain businesses really well, and then as that happens, your advice gets even better. So like Amos understands us, and not just the business, like the nuances of having to deal with me and James and
yeah,
Jamie and everybody.
yeah.
But I feel like just sticking with that commitment is, if you get someone who's good, I think sticking with the commitment is it's important, that, for me.
So that's very good. So commitment is just taking that note because that's it's the consistency of things. It's the consistency of things done on a regular basis that's more steps which leads to big changes and big impact. So we can clearly see that in you, and it has been a great uh, listening to you, Ben, and thank you for taking time out, sharing this with all our viewers. And I'm sure uh, such an authentic, I can feel it, it has been such a learning, mindful, authentic, what else I can say, full of values. Such a great journey you've been. And
Yeah.
yeah, we look forward to seeing more and hearing more of you going forward then.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for having me.